Less than an hour into February 15th, 2021, Michael McDowell began the last lap of the Daytona 500 in third place, behind Team Penske teammates Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski down the back straightaway and entering turn 3. Logano tried to block Keselowski, but they crashed and took out several cars. As the race went under caution, McDowell held off Chase Elliott and Austin Dillon for the win. In his 358th NASCAR Cup Series race, McDowell got his first win. The win was perhaps the greatest upset in the history of the historic race, with the only other rival potentially being Derek Cope winning in 1990 when leader Dale Earnhardt cut a tire on the last lap. However, McDowell's win was completely legitimate, and I will explain why. Prior to the win, McDowell was likely best known for two things in NASCAR: his violent crash while qualifying at Texas in 2008 and/or his prowess on road courses. The latter should not have been much of a surprise, considering McDowell's background. In 2004, he won the Indy Pro 2000 Championship with 7 wins out of 10 races and started 2 IndyCar Series races the following year. As a replacement for future Series champion and Indianapolis 500 winner Ryan Hunter-Reay, at Rocket Sports Racing, he finished in 12th at Surfers Paradise and 11th at Mexico City. However, he spent most of his time in 2005 and 2006 in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. Each year, McDowell competed in the Daytona Prototype class, the top class, and finished 11th and 7th in points respectively, while winning at Mexico City in the former year. McDowell would soon transition to stock car racing and became a development driver for Michael Waltrip Racing after winning 4 ARCA Racing Series races and finishing second in points in 2007. By the time he made his Cup Series debut at Martinsville in 2008, he had just over 1 full season of ARCA and 5 races between the Secondary Series and Truck Series. Also, the Waltrip team was in its 3rd full-time season and did not have a car that qualified for every race in either of the previous 2 seasons. McDowell's season went about as well as you would think. He started 20 races and got a best finish of 20th at Richmond, but McDowell was consistent at finishing races, as his only retirements were crashing at Richmond and having an engine failure at New Hampshire. As said earlier, the main highlight of the season was a violent crash at Texas during qualifying, where he flipped multiple times when he took over the car after David Rudiman replaced retired teammate Dale Jarrett in the number 44 car. The number 00 car was in the top 35 in owners points, guaranteeing it a qualification. Unfortunately, McDowell dropped the car below this, and he would fail to qualify at Kansas. Following this, he was released from the team. McDowell got another opportunity in NASCAR, this time in the Secondary Series with JTG Doherty Racing. He got a best finish of 6th at Las Vegas and was 11th in points when he left the team due to sponsorship issues causing them to become a start-and-park operation. McDowell spent the rest of the season with the lower-budget teams McDowell Motorsports and Whitney Motorsports. The hallmark of McDowell's career for the next several years would be driving for smaller teams who would often start and park. In the Cup Series, McDowell began to drive for Phil Parsons Racing in 2010. At the 2010 Daytona 500, McDowell had one of the slowest speeds in qualifying and spent most of the first qualifying race running towards the back of the field. It appeared that he would fail to qualify. However, following a late race restart, he was able to get past his main competitors Max Pappas and Todd Bodine to make the race. This actual pace at the superspeedway track would be a good representation of McDowell's career in the 2010s. McDowell continued to mostly drive for Parsons through 2013. Generally, the only races that they actually competed at were Daytona and Talladega, while starting and parking at the others. McDowell's performance at these tracks were respectable, and he would get a great 9th place finish at the 2013 Daytona 500. He would finally move to a team that intended to compete when he went to Levine Family Racing in 2014. There, he would get 4 top 10s through 2017, 3 of which came at Daytona. The most notable was the 2017 Firecracker 400, where he pushed Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to the lead going into the final lap and ended up in 4th place. He also showed what he could do when actually given respectable equipment in the Secondary Series. At various points, he drove for Joe Gibbs Racing, Team Penske, and Richard Childress Racing in the series from 2011 to 2016. Between them, he got 14 top 10 finishes and his maiden NASCAR win at Road America in 2016. McDowell would move over to Front Row Motorsports in 2018. The team, which had factory support from Ford, was the first such team that he had driven for regularly since Waltrip. The team had shown its power at Daytona and Talladega by frequently being competitive there. In fact, at the latter in 2013, they got a 1-2 finish with David Reagan and David Gilliland. McDowell started off the season with a 9th place finish in the Daytona 500. When the Cup Series returned to Daytona for the Firecracker 400, McDowell qualified in 8th place and would lead for 20 laps legitimately. He appeared to have a real chance at victory, but he was collected in a crash with 5 laps to go. McDowell would then get 6 top 10s over the next 2 seasons, headed by 5ths at Daytona and Talladega in 2019. The way that McDowell was able to be competitive at the super speedways was by being with teams that put more resources into these races, which have closer competition, and having the ability to remain in the draft while also not getting caught up in major crashes in a combination of luck and skill. McDowell went into 2021 having had his best season in 2020. That year, he finished in the top 10 4 times with a best finish of 7th place at the Brickyard 400 and finished a career-best 23rd in points. This brings us back to the 2021 Daytona 500. McDowell started in 17th after finishing 9th in the first qualifying race. He avoided the big one on lap 14 and spent most of the first half of the race running in the top 20. McDowell started to make moves towards the end of the second stage, which he would finish in 7th place. For the third and final stage, McDowell remained in the top 10 for the near entirety of it. With 10 laps to go, McDowell was in 4th place. If he wanted to win, he would have to do something quickly. In the final 2 laps, drivers started to make moves. Going down the back straightaway on the final lap, Dillon and Kevin Harvick tried to pass McDowell on the inside, but he got ahead of them and in line behind Logano and Keselowski when they crashed together, thus gifting McDowell his first win in the series' biggest race. Following this, McDowell would get an 8th place finish at the Daytona road course, which was not really that big of a surprise considering McDowell's road racing experience. This included 6 starts in the 24 hours of Daytona, while most other drivers in the race never even raced at the track until it was added to the schedule in 2020. He then finished in 6th place at Homestead in a race that saw him run very well once it started to get dark, due to his car's improved handling in the conditions. So yes, Michael McDowell had shown speed and competitiveness when he had a good car, or in the case of super speedways, a not so good car. Even if these were not the case, he ran very competitively at the 2021 Daytona 500 and was in the right position to steal the win as the 2 drivers ahead of him made a very serious error and crashed out.